number 1, number 3. Grass River, 3 R's. Grass River Railroad, why they didn't do cheap?
Yeah, it's running. I got it. Who? Hold on. He just emailed me. He's coming in? He says he lost the internet on his end, trying to reconnect.
Wow, I don't know what happened there, but we lost phone and TV and obviously internet as well.
Yeah.
So luckily, I rebooted my my modem, and everything seems to be back in service for now. Yeah. Okay.
Baffling with the bullshit and dazzling with the footwork.
There's nothing better than that skill, Bill. Okay, that was a close call, boys.
We've had closer. That's a real walk in the park for us.
Okay.
Nick, your last name is, how does it pronounce?
Masney.
Masney. Okay.
Yeah. Pretend the S is a Z.
Masney.
Or a Z in your language.
Manzi.
No, Masney.
Yeah.
They don't understand why we
Right on.
$1,000 for all of it. It doesn't work so
This, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to rumble?
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Model Railroading Live. Who is Big Bill talking to tonight? It's October. Did I just say October 2nd? October 2nd, 2019. I'm telling you, the year is flying by. 2 more months and it's Christmas. So you guys, you model railroaders out there, better get your Christmas list all together so you can give them to your loved ones. But here we are on October 2nd, 2019, and we're doing the Who's Big Bill Talking To show. And tonight's guest is Nick Mazzi, owner, operator of Imagine That Laser Art, as you can see in the back. You're not an Italian company, Nick, are you?
No, we're not in Italian. Although my wife is Italian, so
Oh,
I
good.
guess you could say so.
Good. That's good. Because when I first saw the sign, Italia, I was like,
Yeah.
is this guy from like Sicily?
Sicily, that's right.
Yeah. Anyway, here we are tonight. We're broadcasting live from the greatest city in the world. It's not New Jersey. It's Staten Island, New York, and all over. We broadcast all over the world, and even some parts of China. So we're out there. But tonight's guest is Nick Massey. But before we get into talking to Nick, just got to do some homework. You know the homework. John beats me up if I don't do the homework. Just want to give you guys a heads up. If you guys had set your DVRs and your recording and your whatever those things you plug into your computers to tape, the build show for next week has been canceled. This is due to travel by Andy. He has to go out on business. The next build show will be on October 15th. So if you guys were biting at the bit for the next build, BUILD show, it won't be next week. It will resume its normal airing time on October 15th. And tomorrow, today's Wednesday, Thursday usually follows Wednesday, and that will be the 3rd of October. And we'll have Johnny's Train Talk show where you guys can be in on it just like this. I say this every week, and I don't see anybody when I sneak in to see if anybody's in the show with them. But anyway, you can be on the show just like we are right now. It's an open forum. If you have a question, you have a problem with the model railroading, nothing personal, no financial advice, none of that, marital advice, girlfriend, boyfriend stuff, none of that, because we're not qualified for that. But model railroading, we know a ton. And if we don't know, we'll find somebody who does. So you guys can join in tomorrow. He's at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday night. That's Johnny's Train Talk show. Just come on, mosey on down to the general store where John is. Sit down, have a couple of glasses of root beer, sit down with the guys, and shoot the breeze. Hold on. What's this? Eric Hall says, hold on, do not shut the show yet. Need to go out with my Italian wife for our night walk. Wait till I get back before you start. That's IMRRO. Yeah, Eric, we're going to do that. We're going to wait. So Nick is going to wait while Eric goes out with his a walk with his wife. Not That's not going to happen. Sorry, Eric. Sorry, Eric. Oh, and before we start, if let's see if he's out here. He's out. No. Dwight, Northern Railroad, I want to wish you and the Minnesota Twins the best of luck this Friday night, opening against the New York Yankees in the playoff division. I hope it works out for you. Good for you guys. And without further ado, let's introduce Nick from Imagine That Laser Art. Nick, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you very much, Bill. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you on. I know we were exchanging emails and back and forth, kind of lobbing it over the net. Is this date good? Is that date good? And then we kind of finalized it and everything.
Yeah.
We finally got on. First,
Well,
I want to say thank you very much for being a part of the show and for saying you would be part. It's always a thrill when model makers and business entrepreneurs come on our show, because we want to share your talent and your product as well to the model railroading community and get to see the faces behind who makes the product, that it's not some big corporation up on the 17th floor of a glass building. And, send me your don't rate me and don't ask any questions. Just glue the thing together.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see the face behind the product. So, Nick, how did you get started on this project? Did you start this business? Did you inherit this business? How did this come about for you?
It's a bit of a story, but an interesting one, Bill. I guess first and foremost, I'm a modeler just like you guys are, and I'm passionate about building scale models, and I'm passionate about a specific era and a specific railway that I model here in my basement. And I was at the time, it's going back about 7 years, I was looking to build some specific structures for my model railroad that were not available. And they were kind of extensive structures. And I, through a mutual friend, I had a connection with a company called Imagine That Laser Art Products, and started to talk to the owner and started to work on this project together. And as we worked together, I kind of thought to myself, boy, I might be able to do something like this someday myself. Maybe it'd be a great retirement gig someday, So time went on, and then the owner of that company and luckily he wanted to consider me as the person that would take over the company, because he thought I would carry it forward on his behalf and carry on with some of the good stuff he started. So 7 years ago, my wife Renee and I decided to take the plunge, and we bought the company, and began to move it forward. A bit of a different direction. ITLA stands for Imagine That Laser Art, but we are now known as ITLA Scale Models Incorporated. And we changed the name to better reflect what we provide to the modeling community. We provide scale models, right, to people like you and obviously people like me. So some of the kits you see behind me are examples of those products that we now produce. So that's how it kind of started. I've got an engineering background, and I love to build things. As a result, the technology that we use in laser manufacturing is something that I was somewhat familiar with. And I brought also automotive manufacturing, design for manufacturing theory into the product line as well. And we can talk a little bit about that later on in the show as well. And I can show you some of the neat things that I've incorporated into the product lines since we bought the company originally. And hopefully all that stuff helps you guys as modelers and gives you a better product, an enjoyable build, and satisfactory model your product displaying. So that's kind of how I started.
How is it, the present company that you and your wife Renee took over? How different is it from the one that you were working with and then you purchased? How was it changed?
I would say it's changed quite a bit over the past years. We've taken it more down I would say a fine scale path, where we're attempting to provide the customer with a lot more fidelity in the product and a lot more detail and uniqueness in the product, for sure. The other thing that we've brought to bear is the opportunity to build these kits in a variety of different fashions. So we engineer in the opportunity to build a certain footprint of structure multiple times, multiple ways. So you could build a kit 12 different ways if you wanted to. We can talk a little bit about that later too, but that's a bit of an angle that we're trying to offer is configurability. So, if you and I buy the same kit, we can build it differently, and you won't even realize it's the same kit. And you could buy the kit 3 times over and build it 3 different ways, and that's kind of the new design theory that we've been pursuing for years now, and it seems to be fairly popular.
How now you obviously were a model scale, railroader before you bought into the business. You presently have a layout?
I do, yeah, I do. I have a fairly large layout in the basement here at our place, and the little bit of a joke, I guess, would be I remember the story I was just mentioning moments ago, where I got involved with the original company and owner while I was trying to create a custom structure. So I finally had to buy the company to continue to build my structure, and here we are 7 years later, and I haven't finished it yet. So it's still waiting to be done. So you know how it goes in our hobby. You don't always.
Yes, I do. The shoemaker never had shoes for the children.
Yeah,
Own
exactly.
kids. So yeah. So yeah, no, and you're just for a moment because this is a model railroading show. Your layout is what's the name of your layout?
Okay, I modeled the Algoma Central Railway, and it was a road that ran from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, north to Hearst, Ontario, about 296, 300 miles north. Uh, and you guys would know Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, probably the very tip of Michigan. Well, right across the St. Mary's River is Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. From that point, the Algoma Central moves northward and it crosses the CNR and it crosses the CR. And all of those railways I model here in my basement as kind of one little package. So I'm modeling a point-to-point railway, Algoma Central, and 2 national transcontinentals, the CN and the CN.
John is going to interrupt because we have technical difficulties. Everyone's saying that there's a bit of a squeaking coming from.
Right?
Oh, Dwight's on. He wants you to check your settings, Nick. So,
Okay.
but while Dwight's here, Dwight, early before you got on, I wanted to wish you the best of luck with the Minnesota Twins this Friday night against the New York Yankees. I hope it works out for you, bro. Good. Not the Yankees, the Twins, that is. Well, I'm not a big Yankee fan, so
Okay, guys, how's that?
that's it. Yeah, sounds pretty good. We'll see. It's it's all we can do. All right. So where were we? Oh, we were on your point-to-point railroad. Does it operate? Do you have an operations? Is it operating, or is it just to let the trains run and?
Well, the way I've designed it, you can do both. So the point-to-point Algoma Central component of it is operationally designed. So I model the traffic flow or the traffic patterns from the Sioux north. So it would have been empties going north, and it would have been loaded ore cars and loaded pulpwood cars coming down from the north woods into St. Mary's paper. So it was kind of a resource road that existed in the 50s and into the early 80s before it was taken over by Wisconsin Central.
Oh, Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Stand by.
On 3, 2.
Yeah.
How come there's a big mushroom cloud outside my window after he pushed that button? Fuck with that. Cloverdale Rail is here. Glad to see, glad I could make it. I'm glad you did too. Mike Dalton's here. Dwight of Northern Star, yes, sir. And Dale and Wilmer, I believe you're here. I didn't see Indian Head Valley Railroad. Yes, how it goes, brother? It goes well. We got a big 90-degree day here at New York City. So, got Dwight. We got Drew Steele, 69. Finally caught you live, Big Bill. Do I owe you money? Okay, Dwight, Dale, how's that, Nick? Let's hear.
Okay. How do I sound now? My voice, my soprano voice working well?
Yeah, well, let's see. What's his I do owe you money, Drew Steele, 69? Get out of here. This isn't Bill, this is his brother Brian. Nick, I got a question. Dale, PRR guy base. He says, do you do HO and N scale structures?
I do, yeah.
And what is that that's sitting behind you, pray tell?
Well, I don't know.
I'm glad I asked.
Glad you asked. This is some examples of our HO kits across the back of the room. This is part of the display that we would take to a trade show. So, as a matter of fact, this coming weekend, we're in the Toronto area in the Toronto Train Show, and this will all be set up plus more. Usually we're 4 tables long at a show. So a number of the models that you'll see on our website are shown here. And when I was speaking earlier about the configurability of some of our kits, if I can point to, I don't know if you can see this, Bill. There's a long flat here.
Yes.
Okay, there's a rectangular building here. There's an L-shaped building here, another rectangular there, and a shallow relief structure about 1.5 inches thick over there. Those are all the same kits, as an example, built in 5 different footprints. So that way you can use them against the backdrop if you want, or you can use them out in the in the center of your layout as well.
Right.
So you can move the walls around, and you can do make different footprints and do different things depending on the situation or the room you have.
On the you were showing us the other day when we were talking the other day about one of the kits about the configuration. You were showing one of the buildings and how it came, how you can build it, and then you showed how it could be built other. Could you show that to the?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so we'll look at this kit. So this is Olympia Tool and Die. Okay, so as you can see here, this is an HO kit, and actually Johnny's building this one at home as well right now. This model you'll see on our website, that's the actual show model that we took the photos from. So you can see that footprint, bit of an L-shaped footprint. See the details involved. If I put that down, this is the same kit built as a full flat. It's actually a 1/2 inch thick, and we give you the sidewalls as part of the kit as well, so that you have the choice of building it. As I showed you previously, you can build it as a full flat, like this, or you can build it as what we would call a semi-relief, where some of it is flat and some of it is not, as an example. So anything in between all of those footprints is capable with the kit.
Nick, can I ask you a question?
Certainly.
Of course I can ask you a question. It's my show. I can do anything I want. On that last building that you were showing, that relief right there, that one with the protruding.
Yep.
That one plus the one previous to that, could that be hooked up back to back to give it more of a depth?
Absolutely.
Last relief you showed, that one that was straight across?
Yes, absolutely it could, Bill. So these kits feature a dovetail joint connection in all the walls. So yes, you could in fact build them back to back without
Okay,
issue.
that's good to know. That's good to know. Indian Head Valley Railroad, he wants to know, do you sell components like doors, windows, shingles, etc.? I'm glad you asked that question, Wilma.
Well, we do sell some modular wall components, and they're available on our website. So these are some of the components that you will see in a lot of these kits here. They will come with all the trimmings, all the doors and windows in them. So I sell them as, I'll call them a module, because all the trim components come with the kit itself. Rather than just a wall panel that you would cut your windows into, I'll give you all the parts. So that's available. We also have detail kits too, rooftop especially, available for our structures. And you can also use our kits on other manufacturers' product if you wished as well. So,
No, they're interchangeable.
Yep.
Cool Tropopolis, I keep messing that name up. Model Railroading wants to know how many different models do you offer?
We have at least 100 SKUs in the company today. So anything from a flat car deck to extensive structure kit, such as the hotel that you can see behind me here, the Southside Hotel. So there's a range of products from structure kits to detail parts to Chicago and New York elevated as well, Bill.
Yes, I was just going to get to that.
You were. So I was going to bring some of this out just for you, just so that you can see some of that stuff as an example. So we have a number of products available, and hopefully we satisfy a variety of interests across the model railroad community.
How, Nick, let me see. I was going to get to that, John. Relax. Take it easy. Bing. Let them scream. Let them scream. It's my show. It's me. It's me. Oh, whoa. Putaru. Me and Nick are talking here. Nicky boy.
Yeah,
I have to
totally.
say, yeah, Nicky. Hey. I
Hey,
was going to ask you the scales you have them in.
yeah. So we produce product in N scale, HO scale, and O scale.
O scale.
Yes, sir.
That same building that you showed us, can you show us that no scale?
Just so happen to have it available.
Whoa, look at this.
That's right. Yeah. My lovely wife in the background handing me all this stuff so that you can see that. So this is the O scale version of this HO scale guy right here.
Wow.
So I told a little bit of a story to you a couple days back about how long it took to design and produce this particular model. This is I love this thing. I'm very, very proud of how this came out. The degree of detail that went into this, plus we have operable lighting that comes with the kit as well. It was quite a challenge. It took about 6 months to put this whole product together and get it on the market. The cool thing about this is, again, the configurability that exists within the design allows you to build this model in at least a dozen different footprints, probably closer to 15 or 16 if you really wanted to start counting wall combinations. Vanna, my wife, she's going to yeah, see what you did there, Bill? Yeah. So here's the same kit in a shallow relief format. And again, the ability to do this comes in the same kit. So the side walls are included to produce the kit of this size. And there you go. You got about 32 inches of linear length in O scale there. of very nice laser etch detail in brick.
Uh, Joel Calmer wants to know, do you have anything in ON30?
In ON30, nothing specific. O gauge or O scale itself, 1/48 is about as as generic as I can suggest. I think that I wonder if that would work in ON30 at all. I mean, I would think it should, but he would know better than me. I'm not. I don't model ON30 personally.
Right. Dwight Northenstar wants to know what's the price point comparison between the different scales, like the O scale, HO.
Oh, okay. Let me. That deserves a little bit of an explanation.
Sure.
I'll put this one down. So this guy. So the O scale version of the kit comes with all the detail you see. Specifically, the rooftop detail is one of our hallmarks too. All of our models you'll see have got lots of rooftop detail on them because we think that that's kind of a necessity when you're modeling cityscape and industry. So a lot of great little details have been worked into this model. Price point on this thing I think is fairly attractive. I think I'm at $79. I think we are on the website. So a very nice little kit. A lot of opportunity to build into a variety of footprints.
$39 you said for that one.
How much?
39 you said?
I think closer to 79.
Oh no, not the one you just showed.
Yeah, the HO scale.
79. Okay, I misunderstood you. That's my
Yeah.
fault.
Yeah.
79. Okay, still a good price.
Yeah, I think it is honestly, and we honestly try to price competitively, and if anything, we probably underprice. Just we honestly have a soft spot for modelers because we are modelers. I'm not trying to get rich here. We're just trying to help and provide some unique product. This guy here is a little bit more pricey. It tops out at $239, and the reason is obviously the size of the product, but also the amount of detail that goes into this particular model. Being O scale, it sucked in so much more detail. We just kept putting and putting stuff into it until it got to the point where we felt comfortable that it looked really, really good. Castings and lighting, as I mentioned. So that's a higher end limited edition model that we're just wrapping up production on right now. So if anybody wants one of these, please talk to me or see us on the website soon because we're going to be building out shortly.
And well, I have another question, but I have a question after that. One of the Lloyd, MHO Junction Lloyd, he said he wants to know, will you be branching out into more modern buildings?
Okay. Yeah. Well, depends on what modern. What's the definition of modern in his world?
Right. That's
Well,
a good question.
okay. Okay. Because the reason I asked that question is here, and you're going to see it here. This is a new model that we're introducing at the Toronto show this coming weekend. This is a traditional, well, the designer of these types of structures was a gentleman named, I think it was Albert Kahn was his name. And this is the type of industrial structure that you'd see all over the country in the US and Canada, primarily auto industry related and things like that. These structures, although they were built around the early part of the 1900s, are still in existence today and are still used today by modern industry. So depending on your definition of what modern is, this could be configured to be used in a modern environment.
All right, everybody can hear me on the microphone. I can't resist this, but with the white, yeah, when you ask modern, I'm sitting there laughing because he went to school with Methuselah. Okay, I'll turn my mic off now.
Okay. Eric Hall just came back from his walk, everybody, and he's feeling much healthier.
Cheers.
Yeah, very good. Don't forget to drink the agua.
Yep.
Oh, we were, but you're right, Andy. We were biding time. Now we can really get into the show. Cool Tropolis says, what did he just say here? He says, oh, cool. He says your website, I guess for that building, says $69.99.
Okay, that's, yeah,
Okay. Oh,
I was quoting Canadian.
oh, my wife was quoting Canadian dollars. Sorry, 69 US.
Canadian dollars, Cool Tropolis,
Yes.
and stuff. That building, that's going to be introduced in the show that you're going to be at
Yeah.
now. And when will that be available to the modeling public?
So my goal is after this weekend at the show, my goal is take a week off because
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
we've been burning it at both ends of the candle for quite a few weeks now. But throughout the middle of October into the latter end of October, you'll start to see it appear on my website. And the best thing to do, guys, is just sign up for my newsletter on the website, and I'll introduce it through the newsletter. And we'll hopefully have a bit of a little bit of a promotion opportunity or an offer that goes with it.
Now, that building, Nick, itself, can you make multiple buildings with that kit? Or is that just going to be, I mean, because that's similar to what I want to do on the changes that I want to make on my railroad.
Yeah, no, great question, Bill. Yeah,
To do like, Bush Terminal, that's the type of a building
Yeah.
that I would have, so.
exactly. So let me continue to. You're right. I'm glad you asked that question because this, although I'm holding what appears to be a building kit in my hand, it's really a series of kits that I'm holding. So this structure is comprised of a number of what I'm going to call wall modules or wall panels that you will purchase as individual units, and you chain these things together to build a structure and a shape that you need or you like. So as an example, this is one of the components that make up the wall section in that structure. And then here are some of the brick panels that go into that wall. And then in this particular, and you can start to see some of the window frames in here as well. So all of these wall panels are individual kits. And you basically assemble those kits and chain them together and put them in the shape that you desire. So continuing it with our configuration theme, our ability to use our models for more than just what you see pictured, this theme just continues along that line.
Let me see. Dwight of Northern Star Railroad says you sure do have beautiful models.
Thank you.
MHO Junction Lloyd, he says, well, what I was talking about was buildings that were built in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Ah, okay. So that's your definition of more modern. Yeah. Right at the moment, we don't plan to do anything in that era. We're primarily the brick and mortar of the transition era and probably prior to. So the buildings that were built around the wartime and then are still somewhat in service today is what our niche really is.
Indian Head Valley Railroad, Wilma says, that's very clever. Not bad, he said.
Thank you.
The question from the point that this looks like something, if I'm a newbie in this hobby and I'm tuning in for the first time tonight, or I ran across your website and I'm like, I'm biting at the bit to do a model railroad and I want to do it and I want to build a building just like that. But because I'm new, my confidence level is about maybe that big. What is the ability? Where is it good for the beginner, intermediate, moderate, expert? Or all of it is encompassed in that? Can a newbie jump in there and say, "Hey, I'm going to try this"? Because first and foremost, as you know, the price of the model. I'm a brand new guy, so I'm going to drop $139. You know, it's not plastic where I can take the exact weld and run it up the bead and put it together and send. Is it possible for a new guy not to be that intimidated by your models?
Absolutely. I believe so, Bill, and that's a great question. And of course I'm going to say yeah, but no, truthfully, I believe so. And the reason I say that is I'll show you by way of demonstration. So here's another example of our wall panels. So this is that O-scale Olympia kit that I showed you moments ago. You can see the tongue and groove or dovetail joints right there. So that allows you to put the walls together in a bulletproof fashion. You can't misassemble this stuff. It's that easy. As an example, to put the windows in, I wish I could show you my work surface, but if I were to remove the window, okay, standard laser cut window with a separate header, which allows you to paint it separately, by the way, so you don't have to mask any parts. So the design that we've been moving forward with is one that allows you the ability to basically press fit the parts in place. So there you go. You see I'm press fitting that.
Yes.
And I've designed it with a friction fit purposefully so that it won't fall out. Now, you're still going to glue it and glaze it from the backside to capture it permanently, but we designed it with a bit of a friction fit so that the modeler, even a new guy, can start to put parts together and not have them falling all over his lap.
Right.
Then you get to see how, okay, here's my header, and I'm trying to do this upside down without my glasses on. There's the header on top of the window. Okay, so it's all designed to be flush fit to the back of the wall so that you get a consistent gap and a consistent relief on the front surface across all your wall sections.
Eric Hall wants to know of a IMRRO-COM. How thick are the walls? They look very thick and solid.
They are very thick and solid. They're 1/8 of an inch thick. So if you look at that, this stuff doesn't warp very easily. Unless you put it into a pail of water, it doesn't warp. So you can see me trying to bend it. So not to be confused with basswood. This is not basswood.
Okay.
This is an MDF wood product.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Kultropolis wants to know, is that the Sherwood building behind you? Do you have the Sherwood building behind you?
Oh, I don't. Hang on, my friendly helper behind the camera has gone off to try to find one.
There you go.
You know the one, Renee, can you reach it? Now the Sherwood building is out of production at the moment. And if you looked on my website, you'll see that it's indicated as sold out, but it's really out of production because we're in the process of improving it. And here's the prototype version of it. Its reintroduced version will look like this. So that's the new Sherwood, yet to be launched. So you guys are seeing a sneak peek.
Ooh, I like sneak peeks.
So again, some more rooftop detail there, right? Some nice features, architectural features. All of this can be mixed and matched to your liking as well. If you don't like this stuff, don't install it. That's simple as that. But if you look at my front wall here, all of the windows install the same way that I showed you here in this O-scale example. They all press in from the front, they flush up to the rear on your work surface, and then you glue in your headers and your sills. And it's honestly, it's so quick and easy to do. A new guy could easily do this as much, as easily as an accomplished modeler like yourself, Bill. I mean, it's the stuff builds very simply and reliably and robustly. Thanks, Ray.
Really, I like that. Reliably and robustly. Kultropolis Model Railroad says, of course, the one I like is out of service. Well,
Temporarily.
Temporarily, and a T, temporary. And Grand Express says off the hook, my man. That's the way to put it. It is off the hook. It's off the chart, my brother. Ron Trains and things. I missed the beginning of the show. Any N-scale structures available?
Ah. You got Renee, can you grab Sherwood? Okay. This is a lot of fun. My wife's getting a lot of running around workout here in the basement.
Cardio.
We just showed you the HO scale, Sherwood. Here's the N scale, Sherwood. A little bit obviously of a smaller building. The construction of this is very, very basic. It's just really plywood in construction with a brick etched surface on the front. But if you're not into the downtown cityscape, I have another surprise.
Ooh! Somebody get a birthday cake with a candle.
So you saw me talk to this type of construction, right? And these
Right.
that'll be coming out shortly in HO scale. So somebody said to me when I was designing that, somebody said, "I'll bet you couldn't do that in N scale." So
You love a challenge.
I love a challenge. Yeah, I love a challenge. So lo and behold, here's the N scale version. And if you look close, I don't know if you can see the windows or not. Can you see the open sashes on those windows?
Yes.
So that was a fabulous win that I was really, really happy with. With a laser that we have is capable of producing such fine cuts that we are able to make a removable and replaceable sash window in N scale. So you look at this and you might think, oh, I can get that in plastic as Cornerstone or whatever, Walther's kit, what have you. But there's a big difference between this fine scale perspective and a buildability perspective than its plastic cousins. So in N scale, this is going to be coming out in Toronto on Saturday, and then shortly after that on my website. Now, hold the thought. Are there more than one N scale guy? Is there more than one N scale guy out there?
Yes.
Okay. So this is again an example of the individual wall panels that we will be selling that you will use to basically plug and play and build your own structure. Okay, so here's what it looks like when you plug and play. Thanks, Renee. So here's one that I'm finishing up. This is going to be at the Toronto show as well, and then we'll have it at the Amherst show in Massachusetts as well at the end of January. So this is a conglomeration of all of those different wall panels and how you can use them to build yourself a structure to your liking, right? So any shape. This is a shape that I just came up with, as I sketched away one morning with a coffee in my hand, and in my mind, I created a look that I've always wanted to have, in my basement. I love the look of this old type of industrial factory.
I'm telling you, that is right off the Bush Terminal Railroad on 41st Street and 2nd Avenue. That exact building, which now houses, believe it or not, houses the NBA New York Nets, Brooklyn Nets training facility. But that structure is almost duplicate to what's down on 40th Street and 2nd Avenue, with that tied in right there underneath the building and the track. So that is truly off the hook. That is truly off the hook. Kutropolis Model Railroad wants to know how long of a lead time on orders.
Oh, well, we're building stock right now, to be quite honest. So it shouldn't take long to provide to ship. Actually, once we get this thing up on the website. But again, this is not necessarily a kit. This is
Right,
just
right. There's modular buildings that you can.
yeah, modular wall panels. So this, I think if I got the count right, I had 12 sets of wall panels went into this building. This dock area here, if you can see, is a combination of a rail and truck dock, and that's a separate kit by itself. So this 5-panel kit with the rear loading dock walls will be sold as a separate kit on its own as well. The other neat thing about this product is you can cut it and stack it. So if you look at thanks, Renee. If I can show you quickly this is the HO scale version, and it's very tough to tell, but I've provided some score lines with laser at every story. So you can saw cut the floors out, you can shorten it, or you can add it at height.
Okay.
So you want an 8-story structure, you can make an 8-story structure. You want a 3-story structure, take off the 4th story. So all of this is mix and match, plug and play in theory. It all works.
Very nice. Joel Calmer, he wants to clarify. He says he knows that ON scale, ON 30 is 148. All he was asking is an O scale is 140. I don't like the Lion L toy look. He said, Italia's, your structures look very, which
Thank you.
they do.
Yeah, thank you.
But Andy Crawford says if you're modeling a Class 1 modern railroading through the Rockies or across the western landscapes, it's pretty hard to beat N scale for the vista effect and super long trains in a reasonable space. True. How does, this was the next question. Very good question, Dwight of Northern Star Railroad Lines. He wants to know, how do you glue the building?
Oh, excellent question. Okay. Renee, could you grab me my little bottle of Weld Bond?
Yep.
Okay, off goes Renee to the production room to grab some stuff.
Well, let's make this a twofold question,
Okay.
like we asked the other night. Okay, uh, let's discuss the glue and how we do it, but also let's discuss the weathering and
Actually,
what paints.
can you go down into the lower drawer and pull out the Weld Bond bottle? Sorry, say again, Bill.
Yeah, if we could get into the gluing factor of what glues you use and what are the best glues to work with these kinds of structures, but also after the building is built, how well does it take weathering paint,
Oh,
acrylics, rattle can, spray, airbrush, whatever. So if we could, you
yes,
know,
definitely, most definitely. Let's start with the gluing process. So this wood product and all the wood products here work very well with. We use a glue called Weld Bond, and Weld Bond is really it's like a white carpenter's glue, but it has the ability to adhere to not only wood products, but it will also pick up some plastics and other materials, papers and things like that too. We find that glue works very, very well for this material, and it tacks up really quickly. So what I do is I will lay it in the joint very carefully, and I'll let it tack for about, say, 15, 20 seconds, and then I'll bring the other mating part to it. And then, of course, you'll want to clamp, and you'll want to make sure that you're square as you're letting it dry. On the backside, you can, if you wish, use the carrier components that we provide. You can add bracing if you really want to. It's not really necessary, but if you feel the need, go right ahead and do that. And very easy to add. And gives you a really robust joint when you're done. So I would recommend Weld Bond for sure. Others have used, Elmer's wood glue is another potential. No, it's a large gray bottle. Bottom drawer in the wooden cabinet. Wooden cabinet right there. So sorry.
no?
So Weld Bond. I'm going to reach for a couple of others here. There's a couple of glues that I'm experimenting with. Here we go. Thank you. Perfect. That's the one that we use. Weld Bond. Okay, so that is they bill it as a wood, tile, glass, foam, stone, ceramics, and more adhesive. So we find that works very well with the product. Gives you good tack and good setup time.
Andy Crawford says, you Canadian guys always trying to convert us to Weld Bond users.
Yeah, I don't have stock in the company.
To which Lloyd replies, MHO Junction, you Americans will one day learn.
Yes. Hey, maybe Lloyd and I we can export. We'll export Weld Bond to the U.S.
Well, I think if I I can go out and go up the block to my Ace Hardware store. I think he might have it. So
That's,
extraordinary shipping prices and your prices, you could.
yeah, for sure.
I'm
So
going to interrupt for 1 second, real quick here for Andy and Ralph. The tickets were sold out at the beginning of the show for the pictures of the layouts. So y'all just have to, hope for it later on. But since you missed out on buying a ticket for that show, it's
Okay,
coming
there
up
you go.
later. It's coming up later.
okay. So, hey, a couple other adhesives that we're experimenting with right now are by a company out of the UK, Deluxe Materials, and we met this gentleman over at the Amherst show last January, and I've been trying these two glues out on our product, and I'm having some nice success with it too. And again, it kind of depends on the joint that you're addressing, right? So if the weld bond works really well in a closed joint, like I was describing here with the two wall panels coming together, that's a great weld bond joint. If I were to set a panel such as this inside of another, okay, so I have a bit of a friction fit, such as that. You can kind of see that. If I wanted to glue that in place, I could take a product like this Deluxe Materials laser kit glue, and I can just run that around that back edge of the part, and that'll soak into the joint and adhere nicely. Nice clean way to do that. The other product that I'm really enjoying is this product called Glue and Glaze, and you have there's other products like it, Formula 500 Canopy Glue, Micro Crystal Clear, things like that. But I'm finding that this product with a micro applicator on it is a really nice way to install our modular windows. So you see that's those industrial windows I was showing you earlier.
Right.
If you look at the back side of the part, you install those so that they're flush with the rear of the part. So we provide you also with a pre-cut glazing that you'll just adhere onto the back. But what I'll do with the parts in this orientation, I'll just take that glue and I'll very carefully with a really thin bead, I'll just capture the corners of that window frame and a little bit around the edge. And then I'll put my glazing down on top of that. Okay, once it's tacked up, then I'll flip the part upside down and I'll put it back on my work surface and I'll just squeeze that part down into the material to make sure everything is nice and flush, controlling the squeeze out, of course. So that's how I just explained two things there, using that particular adhesive and also glazing our new modular industrial windows as an example. So that's an adhesive opinion on my perspective. I hope that answered the question.
I hope so too. MHO Junction, Lloyd wants to know, after to Toronto, will you be in the Ottawa area?
Oh, no, unfortunately we won't be, Lloyd. No, we're just going to Toronto only. Can I talk a little bit about painting, Bill?
Absolutely, go for it.
I knew you wanted to know.
Yes, inquiring minds want to know.
Okay.
Oh, no, I was just going to say afterwards, you also have it. My hair looks a little it's sticking up on one side. It's because I have a fan blowing on me. That's why. It's not crazy.
It's not.
Don't anybody reply to that.
Wellbond?
Maybe right there. Anyway, yeah. You also, after you answer this question, we also have inserts for the warehouse.
Yes.
We have to get into that.
Okay. That sounds good. Maybe I'll answer them both, and I'll show you both at the same time.
There we go.
Okay. So let's see. I'm going to look through all the parts I've got in front of me here. Let's start off with something simple. So here's a series of sidewalls that we sell on the website and are included in many of our kits. And again, same good wood material that we use in all of our kits. So a lot of people will ask, how do you paint this stuff? How do you paint the stuff to look like that back there? and it's not as hard as it looks, in all honesty. So there's a couple of methods that you can use, and all of these are explained on my website as well. But I'll tell you, the simplest and easiest method is right here in this spray can. All you've got to do is dust the parts with a little bit of red oxide if you're choosing a red brick color, brown if you want a brown brick. If you want to get really brave, you can try to do a yellow brick with the natural color in the wood product that comes inherent. So you just basically dust the part with that red oxide. And if you choose, you could also dust it with some black, or you could dust it with even a browner tone if you wish, just to change the tone a little bit if you choose. Once you've got basic reddish brick tone, the next thing we do is basically use the good old Americana brand. Are they all Americana? No, one's Deco Art Americana. Yep. Yep. Use these nice little water-based acrylics, cheap paints from Michael's or Hobby Lobby or any of your art supply stores, and they're water-based acrylics. And what we'll do is basically just wash on some color. So here's another set of wall panels here that were treated with a gray and a brown rattle can paints. And then we start to touch up a little bit of that with some of the other colors, brush painting. So you'll create a wash and you'll just start to wash in the brick. You can take a real fine brush if you want, and you can go brick by brick if you really want to do that. That's definitely a possibility. Otherwise, we'll just create some washes and we'll start to put on different color tones, the oranges and the reds and the other browns and things like that. And then by the time you're done, you'll start to get a bit of a color pattern like that.
Very nice.
Okay. So that is one of the easiest ways to paint the brick. This particular brick here, again, shot with that same red oxide primer paint, and I haven't done a lot to it yet, but you can start to see a couple of different tones starting to emerge through here as well, because you don't want to have a monotone. You want to have some subtle variation throughout the panel, as an example, right?
Nick, Ralph Renzetti wants to know, have you any thoughts on the old industrial factory?
Oh, you mean the original product that was in with Imagine That?
I guess. I would assume that's what he's talking about.
I'm trying to remember which kit that was. With the old Ford factory, maybe?
He
Nope.
hasn't responded yet.
He hasn't responded. Okay. Yeah, I don't recognize the kit that he's referring to, Bill.
Oh, okay. Ralph Renzetti says he uses a makeup sponge to apply
Yep. Yep.
yes to the question that he asked about the industrial.
Ah, okay. The answer is no.
Okay.
So, but with a caveat and a reason. Okay. So
It's kit 108, he said.
yeah, it's the kit 108. Yeah. No, we're not gonna bother with it. The reason is because we're going down this path instead, where we got a lot more fidelity in these products than existed in that prior kit. So we may bundle some of these wall sections to create a different building shape in the future, but that old kit, I think, will just stay retired at this point. This stuff is more versatile. I think we can get a lot more enjoyment, a lot more mileage out of these types of components.
How getting the question is how with the paint, how well does it take powders on the structure after it's painted?
Beautifully, actually, very, very well. So we do use some, I don't have any examples with me here. We'll use some Bragdon weathering powders. You can use the pan pastels. This material has a great bite or a great tooth to it. So you can use all sorts of materials, whether it's the standard powder or Bragdon's or paint. any of your coloring methods will work beautifully with this product.
And easy to apply and easy to work with.
Yes, very, very easy to work with. So the other thing I could mention to you too, um,
Hunter Purdue says, I like those windows.
oh yeah, yeah. In all honesty, that's one of the value behind our kits is a lot of the components are precision cut. They install without any degree of difficulty. You're not reworking parts. You're not sanding out window openings and removing, plastic flash or what have you, or even, I won't mention who, but even some plaster wall sections require a lot of work in the window openings as well, as you know. So yeah, the beauty of the laser cut material is that it is in fact precision controlled.
Remember, the other night we were discussing and we were talking about prep work on plastic models. I, being the old school guy when I was a kid and putting, the Batman model together and the Superman model together from Revell and car models, I would always take the models out of the bag and prep them by washing them in a mild soap detergent to get the resin off from the pressing machines. I only found that out from the model hobby shop. The guy told me to do that when I was like 10. He says, because it has thing. Are there any prep work like that involved with your models that are ready to use right out of the kit?
Right out of the chute. In all honesty, Bill, I wish I had enough stuff here to show you, but let's talk about this again as an example. So there's a kit that you would receive in the mail or part of a kit, right? It's in a carrier sheet, right? To remove that part, all I do is press it out from the backside, like that, like that. Discard the carrier. What I actually do is save this and use it for internal bracing if you want, especially the square edges are great for corners. Little tip. And then those components right there, you don't have to do anything to it. You just paint them and use them. Start putting them together, just like that. Friction fit, ready to go.
What about your interior design things for the warehouses?
Oh, okay, yep. So good example of, I'm running out of space in front of me here, Bill. You're challenging me with all these questions. This is an example of our loading dock interior kit in O scale for clarity. Same kit in HO scale exists as well. I haven't gone to N scale yet. Maybe nobody's challenged me yet. I'm not sure, but maybe in the future. So this is an example of a kit that we will use behind a dock door. So again, I'm looking for a wall here I can use. Oh, here's one. So here's your standard wall opening with my loading dock doors. So this dock kit will install from the rear. And if you look, do not install from here because it won't work. Install from here. So you can see how that changes the look.
Sure, absolutely.
You start to get a really neat, 3D depth effect.
Is that pre-assembled or does that come in parts where you have to assemble it yourself?
You have to assemble it yourself.
Okay.
But honestly, you could assemble that in 10 minutes. Very,
Yeah.
very simple.
Eric Hall of IMRRO.com says the glove has been dropped and you have been challenged. He is an N scaler, so
I shouldn't have said anything.
yeah, he's challenging to do that drop.
That's right. Well, we'll see what we can do. Time will tell, right? It's all about how much time you have.
Right, exactly.
Tell him that if he invests in my in buying some of my N scale product line, I'll be encouraged to make a loading dock interior.
Okay, so we're recorded this, Eric. So
yeah. The glove has been thrown back.
There it is. Bada bing, bada boom.
So can I finish with some of that painting discussion?
Absolutely, go right ahead. I'd love to hear some more about that.
So I wanted to, we talked a little bit about there's your red brick color, right? But this concrete here, this is what I use for the concrete. So on these wall panels, in those models that I showed you, both the N scale and HO scale panel. This is an example of a color that I use right out of the can to give you your base old looking concrete color. And then you can take it a little further with those acrylic washes. So my my wife Renee spent some time on my behalf last night doing a little bit of extra weathering. So you can kind of see where she started to do some streaking and trying to pick up some of the, as if, water and dirt were washing down the face of the building.
Sure, sure.
But
Now this is the new line that's coming out, right?
yeah, it is.
And if I'm not mistaken, I love the weathering, but are those windows open?
Yes, they are.
I love this. Absolutely love this.
Yeah, they are. Absolutely.
And those can be lit up as well, right?
Yep, we do light all our structures take great lighting as well.
On those interior design for the open, can you place them in the HO structure? Can you place them on the floors so that if it was lit, someone could, like on the third floor, someone would look in and see that you could
Yeah,
place them?
absolutely you could. What a great idea, Bill. Yeah, you could put those in any of the any position in the back wall. Yeah, great idea. I like your idea.
Hey, and I know what you were thinking, Nick. You pretty face.
Yeah.
You thought I was another pretty face. It happens to me all the time. People underestimate my. I'm smart. I could have been the head of the family.
That's right. That's right.
Godfather reference. My Godfather reference.
Yes. So hey,
Yeah, I got.
another thing that a lot of people ask me, and this is an optional item you can use, is a clear sealer. And a lot of people will believe that the first thing you need to do is seal that wood component, and it's not true. If you're using honestly, I brush paint these with these acrylics as well. And as long as you can control your paint application and not lay it on too thick, there's no need to seal the material.
Well, this material, this type of a wood is not a very porous wood.
No, it's a very
MDF.
yeah. So it's used in the cabinet making industry.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. So it's a very robust, and they call it an engineered wood, but it's robust. It's consistent, durable. It doesn't warp. It's resistant to warp. You can warp it if you really throw a lot of moisture at it, but within reason, not a problem at all.
Right, right.
There's another example of that's the Little Olympia kit on its carrier sheet as an example. That's how you would get it in the package.
Okay.
Just an example of how the laser process produces the wall sections. And then as you saw me break the parts out of the carrier sheet from behind, very simple to remove and to get working on it. So the other thing, Bill, I think you were alluding to a few minutes back, and I'm going to go back to this this modular wall product, the industrial product. So that's the frame of the wall that I was speaking of, right? And these are the brick inserts that go in that wall. Okay, both have been painted, as I described just moments ago. But the beauty of the product is that you don't have to mask anything. So I painted these two parts obviously separately. No need, no worries about getting paint one color on another. So I'll pop out a panel just like that. And what I'll do is insert it into the wall panel, just like this from the backside. So there you go. And so on and so on. And that's just, again, it's a friction fit by design. I could push that right in and make it flush with the front surface if I like that look of flush. Personally, I like it inset slightly. So just set it back in. You can see the backside is
Yeah, it gives it a little bit of a dimension up front.
exactly right. So then you just run your glue bead around the backside, and away you go. You want a window. The other beauty of the product is, oh, you know what? I don't want a brick panel there. I'd rather have a window there. Okay, so in goes the window, right? And maybe I'll move that brick panel down here instead. So you can plug and play with these components within the wall frame itself or between wall frames as you go and chain them all together. So
Right.
that's another value of the product, I think, that is really worthy of mentioning.
I don't want to. What's the question I'm asking? And the question I don't want to. I guess the question I'm asking is if I'm going to build, like, say I decide I want to do the modular kind of situation, and I have the idea of what I want to do. Instead of under ordering or over ordering, would it be to my advantage to email you and explain to you what it is that I want to do and to basically guess how many panels I would need?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I'm happy to help, and I do that on a number of occasions, and assisting guys, understand how much parts they need, or how many parts they need, or what components they need. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, no, we're accessible, Bill. We're not, like you said earlier in the broadcast, we're not in an ivory tower. We're quite accessible.
Yes.
We're modelers too, right? So we're just, a bunch of friendly people wanting to help a bunch of people. So by all means.
Dwight of Northern Star Railroad Line says, "Ooh, I love that brick insert idea for painting."
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Lloyd wants to know if you mess out with the weathering, will it take a second coat of paint to start over?
Yes, it will. Yeah, you can do that. Sure. I could take that. And if I'm trying to decide if I've got something to show you here. Yeah, let's look at this. Let's look at this wall. So if I decided that that brown was not something I liked, I could easily go back over, shoot it again with the red oxide and turn the color to red. No problem. Okay, now you can't flood the surface, but all you're doing is dusting, and yes, you can change.
Yeah, you're shooting at a distance.
Yeah.
And not just moving back and forth on.
Exactly. And if you've noticed, one of the greatest advantages to working with wood for masonry structures is that you don't see any shine on this anywhere. There's no sheen, right?
Right.
It's not glossy, it's matte, like brick and mortar should be. So that's the value inherent in this material in the product.
Dale PRR guy base says that's awesome. I've got to get some of these.
Excellent.
Well, that's the idea, you know.
Let me mention to you too. Renee's reminding me. You want to grab? Oh, I'll get it later. One of the other tricks I would like to show you. Can I step off camera for a minute?
Absolutely, go right ahead.
You got a moment? I'll show you. I'm going to show you a trick.
I'm retired. We got a couple of moments. So Dwight, once again, there, I want to wish you the best of luck this Friday night. The Twins against the Yankees. Way to go, guy. The A's. Oh, John wants me to remind you that we will show Nick's pictures of his, what do you call it? This layout, right, layout. His layout.
Model railroad. Yeah. Okay. One of the other tricks I'd like to show you quickly is what I've been doing for mortar in the brick joints. So if you look at, I'm going to use this little N scale guy as an example. So if you can see, can you kind of see the brick in the mortar?
Yeah.
Very subtle, okay? Because I like to keep it subtle and not really, I want to see every mortar line. I just want the suggestion of mortar, in my own opinion. So let's take this panel as an example, right? Painted, ready to go. And this isn't going to, the jar will be nondescript, but what I'm using here is plaster of Paris.
Okay.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, without trying to make too much of a mess over top of my laptop, with a dry brush, I'm just going to tap on some plaster. Okay. And then I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to rub that in. Okay. And you can start to see a little bit of that appear. I'll do a little more for you. I'm going to show you what I do after that. Okay, so there we go. That's probably a better look. So you can kind of see that now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so a bit too white on the surface of the brick. So then the next trick is the good old baby wipe, wet wipe. So I'll just wipe across the brick surface, and it'll look a little bit wet at the moment, but once that dries out, you're going to end up with a look that's similar to that.
Ah, I see, said the blind man.
Yeah, so just another technique, but works really well because, again, the gentleman that asked the question earlier about weathering powders and things like that, this is a good example of how well this material adheres, grabs those powders and holds on. So that's a great way to, quick way to mortar your joints. For example.
Nice. Dwight wants to know if I could dance while Nick's. While he's. You don't have to wait. There you go. That's my classic move.
Awesome.
Now, these are all. Now, here comes the tricky part and the sticky part.
Okay.
The fair market value. How does that work? Because obviously we can't give this away as much as we'd like to. Because it is a business to make a profit. And like you said earlier, you're not in it to gouge. I think personally your prices are very fair and reasonable. But how as being a modeler yourself and dealing with it on the other side of the fence when you were modeling, now you're on where you're producing it and you're saying, okay, I am sure because I've been to Amherst many a time,
Uh-huh.
and I've been in like what you would call your pit. You'd
Yeah.
have a setup. I'd be in, shopping for your stuff. But there's always that one guy, as I've seen in Amherst 1,000 times. So what can you do for me? What kind of deal can you give me?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
You know? And is that reasonable to ask? And I ask this only from the perspective of a modeler. Me personally, that's not something I'm comfortable doing because I think that if you put the work in it, if you produce it, if you say, hey, this is what I've made, this is what I believe to be a fair market value, then it's my choice to purchase it. Now, if I purchase, say, 1 or 2 or 3 kits and you decide, hey, for doing that, here's a rooftop park, that's entirely up to you. That's, again, I think your endeavors constitute. How much of a struggle is that for you as a business owner? You can't obviously give it away, but how hard is that to come up? Because obviously, no matter what, I believe even if you said 1895, somebody would complain.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. It is a dilemma. We struggle with it every day, Bill, to be honest. And a lot of it is because, like I mentioned, we're modelers too. We're generally like to consider ourselves fair people. It's hard to determine what's fair and what's right. First of all, the first thing I got to do is make sure that I'm clearing my costs, right? So I'll have to analyze. Okay, what does it take for me to laser cut that part, or what does it take for me to etch this brick and then cut it out? So there's a value to the components, and then there's a value to the laser time as well. In all honesty, my design time, it's free. I mean, it's part of the company, right? So I don't
Right.
consider, that took me 6 months to design that. It's just, it is what it is. Some of that's a labor of love, obviously. But from a pricing perspective, the first thing you got to do is start out with, how much did this cost me to produce this particular component or kit? Then you got to look at your packaging materials, and you got to look at your instruction sets and signage or castings and all those things that go into the kit as well. It all adds up, right? And then from there, what we'll do is we'll benchmark some of our competitors too. So, being a modeler, I know who they all are too, and I go out and look at their websites, and I'll have a look at what some of their comparable products might be selling for, and I'll gauge where my product is in my mind in comparison to their product from a quality perspective, from a value perspective. And then in general, I'll set my market price where I think it's fair and where I think it's reasonable. And it's a bit of it's an educated guess. Um, I'm glad to hear you say what you said because maybe I am hitting the right mark, but I'm doing my best to make a fair price that still makes sense from a business perspective to keep the machines running, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah. Irene McKeever says things worth having are worth saving for.
well said. True.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Lloyd says absolutely, Irene. And so does when I used to be in the building trade and the painter, and I used to give estimates to people. I'd always, for house painting, interior, exterior, whatever it was, I'd always get the same, I'd give them the price and they would say to me, can you do it cheaper? And I would say, well, yeah, in fact, you could save a lot of money. In fact, you could do it for nothing. And they
Yeah.
said, really, how? I said, do it yourself,
So
right?
true. Yeah.
So if you want what you want, like Ari says, things worth having are worth saving for.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
I know I do painting on the sides, little painting. And I tell you, when I wanted to buy an engine from Atlas and it was $238 plus shipping and handling came to $245. There was a guy down the block who wanted his garage painted. It was all stone. So I said to him, I'll paint it for you. He goes, how much? So I said, give me 250. He said, 250. He says, are you worth it? Because prices for over $1,000, $1,500. You got to do the whole building. It was a small garage, but it was that brick type, stone.
Oh, yeah.
He wanted it whitewashed with the green door. So I said, yeah, you buy the paint, I'll paint it. So I painted it and it came out really nice. And he said, this should have been a lot more money. How come you only wanted 250? I said, because I'm an HO scale modeler and I want to buy an engine. And that's exactly how much it costs. No less.
That's
So
awesome.
he was like, okay. So if you want something, you'll find a way to get it, And like I said, I think for what we saw tonight and the configurations that can be done, and it's just not a model out of a box and build it. And I'm not saying please don't, if you're gonna write letters or email, send them to John and Andy, care of Model Railroading, PO Box 000. But I'm not saying that they're not bad. What I'm saying is that you're constricted and restricted to that one design. Whereas for the price you're paying and for what you want to do, I think it's a fair value because you're getting a lot more money. Like you just said earlier, I can build one building, and if I decide later on, hey, I want to put another track behind that, I can build the other building right behind it. I've gotten two buildings.
Yes.
And plus, what I don't think that people factor in here is the time spent on building something. And this is an editorial. In this crazy world of ours, where we're bombarded daily by social media, by the left, the right, the middle, the up, the green, the purple, sometimes we just need to go to that place and build a friggin' model. Just let the world fight it out on its own outside.
You got it. Yeah. Amen.
So I think that your product is, someone earlier said, off the hook, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Hey, we got to end this right now because Oh, right. I'm sorry. We got to show Nick's railroad pictures, his HO scale, which he has no time to work on whatsoever.
That's right.
Let's show those pictures, D. John. Oh, wait a minute, Nick. This is another show. I should have saved these for later.
Yeah, Yeah, remember I explained to you though, this hasn't moved an inch in 7 years, unfortunately, since I started the business. But that's just the way it is.
How big is this?
It's in a room that's L-shaped, about maybe 11 wide by, I think, 20 long by 18 on the L. If you in the far end to the right, you can't see it go around the curve there. Um, you see that engine terminal on the left-hand side?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that is supposed to be the Steelton, which is the Sault Ste. Marie engine house, covered turntable inside the engine house. And that's the building that I embarked on with the original owner of Imagine That Later. And
Okay.
that hasn't gotten any further than what you see in the picture in 7 years. Someday,
What's that small structure leaning on the floor against the
okay,
room?
that's a great question. What that is a scale model of the layout in the room. So I built a 1-inch planning model. Now talk about the engineering geek in me. So I built a 1-inch planning model that I built the real layout from. So I kind of scaled up from there, and that gave me the ability to make sure that all my track radiuses and such fit into the space that I had available. And then once I could get it to work on the scale model, I was able to bring it up into the one-to-one world by translating the 1-inch scale up into the real 12 inches to a foot.
Nice, nice. Now this is an HO scale.
Yes, yes.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Did you have to redo the whole basement? Was the basement bare wall and then you built?
We basically built the house so the whole basement was finished. And then with, again, Renee being such a generous and understanding person, she gave me most of the basement
Okay.
to build the layout in. I agree.
Kudos to Renee.
Yes.
You know what? You know that's smart because my wife gave me this room. When my son moved out,
Yeah.
it was empty, and she gave me the room. And I asked her, I said, "How come? What's up?" She said, "This way I know where you are." She says, "You're not sitting at the third bar stool at O'Malley's."
Yes. That's exactly what Renee told me. Yep.
Yeah. So
Yep. Exactly. So there's another example of that's a specific Algoma Central locomotive and a specific train. We talked about operations, Bill, early on. So
right.
that's a specific passenger train that ran daily from down to the Sioux. And again, that locomotive it's a brass model that's been modified to match the ACR prototype a bit better. And the reefer behind it's just an AccuRail reefer with some ACR decals on it and a scratch-built house car behind that.
Nice, very nice.
Pardon me, Renee?
Very nice photographs.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So that's another example of another model that a kit bashed brass model, pulling an ore train as an example on the ACR. Just another, traffic modeling the traffic flow that would have existed there in 1951.
Nice. Nice, very nice.
Thank you. And there's a tail end going through one of those. I talked about the transcontinental interlocking. So that's the CPR interlocking at a little place called Franz in the middle of nowhere in Ontario. So just an example of what it would have looked like the tail end of the ACR train crossing the diamond, red boards protecting its rear, and on it goes up north.
Okay. Actual working signals?
Just manual though, Bill. Yeah,
Oh,
nothing fancy at this point. I had dreams of making that into an automated interlocking, but those dreams died 7 years ago.
All right, my
and then
mic's
you
hot and everybody can hear me, but this next picture, Nick, I wanted to ask. You are doing, where you're got two railroads crossing each other.
Yes.
All right, we got a fellow named Andy. Well, you know him. You've been
Yeah.
on a show before. And he's doing the same thing. Now, I'm just wondering if this next picture, and it's coming up right now, is that Andy when he was first trying to learn how to drive a F unit?
Yeah, Andy came for a little bit of a tour on the Algoma Central, and unfortunately, he fell asleep at the throttle.
Ooh, no injuries reported, but multi-million-dollar damage to the.
Yeah, I threw this one in only because it's real life, real drama, right? So we all get busy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I was running some stuff. The transcontinentals on my layout are closed loops actually. So when you asked earlier, Bill, I can run a couple of trains continuously, and then I run point to point, intersecting those loops. So what I had done was I kind of lost track of which train I was running and wasn't paying attention, and the caboose hop ran into the side of the CPR freight, and that's what
So
resulted.
it's all right with plastic trains,
Yes, yeah,
but in the real life thing, it's pretty scary.
yeah, yeah. So I thought that one looked pretty realistic, actually, not halfway
Yeah.
bad. So I had to
Yeah,
capture.
no. I just, you got to line everybody up for the paperwork in the urine cup.
Yeah,
Everybody's got to urinate it,
exactly.
given, and stuff like that. So that's a nice looking layout you got there, bro. I wish you could get back into it.
I'm gonna try.
Yeah, I know.
Try. Yeah.
Do you work out of your house or do you have an office, a place?
No, we're working out of the house, so everything you
Oh,
see
okay.
is here in our residence. Yeah.
All right, all right. That's short commute then.
Yeah, very short commute. It's just basically a couple floors. I go down to the basement, and Renee sees me for lunch, and then dinner, and whenever I come upstairs. Right? Sometimes long days.
Sometimes, well, that's true. You have to do what you have to do. It's
Yeah,
a passion too, I would assume.
it is a passion. Yeah, for sure. And honestly, I gave Renee a lot of credit and earlier, and I continue to do so. She's down here helping me get ready for the show, and she weathered a building the other day, yesterday. So it's stuff like that that really helps, and she's just
Sure.
a good business partner. So I'm
Yeah.
very lucky that way.
Very good. Oh, he said, Ralph Renzetti says, you didn't show them the dam.
Oh, you're right. Montreal River. I forgot. Yeah. Sorry. Next time.
Oh, it's this. Andy Crawford says, listen here, listen to me. I was tired. The foreman had worked me several 16-hour backs to back. And if you weren't such a money grubber, you would have said no to the OT.
That's right.
Run by the almighty dollar, you are.
Yes.
Anyway, Nick, thank you again so much to you and your lovely wife Renee for taking time out on this Wednesday night to share your business and to share your. I can absolutely see your enthusiasm and absolutely your passion in producing these. And I thank you so much for being on the show of Who's Big Bill Talking To. And thank your wife so much for being a very lovely assistant. I know that she's camera shy, just as my wife is, but you're a blessed man to have such a woman in your life.
I am so. Thank you.
You are. So thank you once again for being on. And for you guys out there, remember tomorrow night, Thursday, that would be October 3rd, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is Johnny's Train Talk Show. And you can mosey on down to the general store, pick up a bottle of pop cold root beer out of the canister there and sit down, and you can be on the show just like we are here live. If you have a problem, question, or anything that you want to discuss in model railroading, we're more than happy to help you. We also have the Q&A available to you. So join us tomorrow night, 10 p.m. for Johnny's Train Talk Show. Also, just on the other note, the Build show for next week will be canceled. This is due to business outside work that has to be taken care of by Andy, but he will be back on October 15th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to thank you guys out there in the community and you ladies out there for joining and watching us, because if you're not watching us, we're just talking to MTA. So with that says, you take care. Have a blessed day tomorrow. Be good, and we'll see you guys on the radio. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Take care.